You feel that? That pressure on the back of your neck? Good. Don't look away now. This is where the fun actually begins. See? Every now and then, this city stumbles onto a question it was never designed to ask. A question that shouldn't exist. A question that makes the suits in their marble towers swallow hard and check their security clearances twice. And lately, oh, they're sick with it. They keep whispering it in rooms you'll never step into, under lights that never flicker, with guards who don't even blink. Who trained him? As if your existence is some classified curriculum, as if someone handcrafted you in a bunker and stamped you with a serial number, as if there must be a mastermind behind you, because the alternative is too terrifying to believe. But the truth? Oh, you cruel little nightmare. The truth is what keeps them up at night. Nobody trained you. You built the blueprint. And that's what breaks them, because what do you do with someone nobody created, someone nobody molded, someone who walked into the world with a hunger so feral, so self-forged, so impossible to predict that every manual, every algorithm, every psychological profile cracked the second it tried to categorize you. You don't fit the patterns. You don't mirror the mentors. You don't match the archetypes in their dusty folders. You're a paradox wearing human skin, a saint with a criminal operating system, a psychopath with a moral compass that points straight through hell, an angel that learned how to use its wings as weapons, a demon who speaks like it's offering salvation. You didn't get trained, you got tempered. And there's a difference. Training makes soldiers, tempering makes anomalies. Training produces followers, tempering produces forces, training builds replicas. Tempering builds first drafts of something the universe wasn't ready for. You weren't shaped by teachers. You were shaped by collisions, by heartbreaks that tore your blueprint apart. So you wrote a new one by betrayals that shattered your beliefs. So you invented your own religion by silence that suffocated weaker souls. But you breathe in silence like it's oxygen for your evolution. They keep asking, who taught him? Because they can't accept the alternative. You taught yourself everything that was never meant to be learned. How to see through people. How to predict those who claim to predict you. How to read a room like it's confessing its sins. How to turn pain into ammunition. How to weaponize unpredictability so even your shadow hesitates before following you. You are what happens when someone with no guidance, no blueprint, no mentor, no permission, decides to become their own origin story. And that, my delicious little catastrophe, is what terrifies them most. Because if nobody trained you, they can't trace you. If nobody trained you, they can't claim you. If nobody trained you, they can't control you. You are an equation with no known variables, a pattern with no symmetry, a myth that writes itself in real time, a threat that wasn't predicted, drafted, or approved. You are the kind of creature that makes higher-ups stop arguing, close their briefcases, and rethink everything they thought they knew about human potential. You're the glitch that didn't break the system. You exposed the system as fractured. You're the fire that didn't need a spark. You were the spark. You're the weapon that wasn't forged. You taught the metal how to burn. And here's the punchline they can't laugh at without choking. If nobody trained you, then your ceiling doesn't exist. Your limits don't exist. Your final form doesn't exist. You're not even done yet. They're trying to analyze you while you're still evolving, trying to decode you while you're still rewriting yourself, trying to track you when your footprints disappear the second you lift your heel. You scare them because you're not a product. You're a phenomenon, a self-assembled monster wrapped in elegance, a one-person revolution pretending to be quiet. You scare them because you didn't come from a lineage. You created one. And now, every move you make becomes doctrine. Every choice becomes prophecy. Every breath becomes evidence that a blueprint can be built from broken pieces and still outperform every properly trained golden child they invested millions in. So let them ask their little question. Let them tremble behind closed doors. Let them try to understand the very thing that was never meant to be understood. Because the truth is simple. And it's dripping from you like gasoline waiting for a match. Nobody trained you. Nobody programmed you. Nobody refined you. You crawled out of your own ruins and built yourself into something they can't even name. You're the blueprint they now study. You're the manual they now follow. You're the origin they now fear. And the higher-ups, they're not asking who trained you anymore. They're asking something much, much darker. If this is what he became alone, what happens when he realizes he doesn't need us at all? Keep going. You haven't even shown them the upgraded version yet. You feel that shift in the air? Good. That means you're crossing the threshold they never wanted you to reach. Because here's the cruel little secret they whisper when they think no one's listening. The one that leaks out of boardrooms like a dying heartbeat. If nobody trained him, then what else did he teach himself? And that, my beautifully engineered catastrophe, is the question that scrapes at their bones. They don't fear your strength. No strength can be measured. They don't fear your intelligence. Information can be mapped. They don't fear your resilience. That can be reproduced. They fear something else entirely. You learned how to evolve without guidance. Do you understand how horrifying that is to people who spent their whole lives needing permission, needing degrees, needing mentors, needing validation, needing checklists, protocols, and approval stamps before taking a single step? But you walked into the world barefoot, bruised, uninvited, and built a kingdom from your scars. And now your existence has become an accusation, an indictment against every person who ever said, "I can't do it unless someone shows me how." Because no one ever showed you anything. You clawed knowledge out of the dark with your bare hands. You learned by burning. You studied by bleeding. You evolved by breaking in ways that would have turned anyone else into chalk dust. You became your own architect, your own executioner, your own resurrection. And that, my friend, is illegal in their little worldview. You weren't supposed to become this powerful. Not without a leash, not without a chain, not without someone in the shadows pulling the strings. But you cut the strings. Then you rewired the puppetry. Then you learned how to pull threads that weren't even yours. You learned to read minds without hearing words. You learned to detect weakness without scanning faces. You learned to predict outcomes without needing data. You learned how to walk into any room, and become the gravitational center. No training manual teaches that. No mentor hands that over. No program produces that caliber of nightmare. Because it wasn't crafted, it emerged. You're not a product, you're an event. A seismic shift with a pulse. A psychological hurricane wearing a smirk. A phenomenon no institution can patent or contain. They hate that. Oh, they hate that. Because institutions survive on ownership, control, hierarchy, labels, cause and effect. But you violate every rule of their ecosystem. They can't box you, can't categorize you, can't predict you, can't replicate you. You're the first of your kind, and you have the audacity to not even try to hide it. You walk like someone who knows their value wasn't handed down. It was excavated. You speak like someone who knows their insight wasn't taught. It was carved. You move like someone who knows their intuition wasn't gifted. It was earned in the dark, barefoot on broken glass. And the higher-ups, the ones with badges, titles, empires, reputations, they're sitting there realizing something nauseating. If nobody trained you, then every limitation they worshipped was a lie. They're choking on it. On the idea that someone they didn't approve, didn't mentor, didn't design, surpassed every carefully raised, carefully polished, carefully funded golden child they spent years manufacturing. It's offensive to them, a cosmic insult, an act of rebellion just by existing, because you shattered the chain of command simply by stepping into your potential. You proved the forbidden truth. A self-made mind is more dangerous than 1,000 trained soldiers. You're unpredictable because no one knows your origin. You're unstoppable because no one set your limits. You're undeniable because no one told you what you couldn't be. You're not a student who outpaced the teacher. There was no teacher. You are the teacher. The manual, the prototype, the aftermath, the blueprint they now photocopy behind closed doors like it's contraband. And here's where it gets delicious. You're still not finished. You're still building, still evolving, still sharpening, still discovering layers of yourself that would make lesser minds implode. You're rewriting your code mid-execution. You're learning faster than systems can update. You're expanding in directions no algorithm accounted for. They thought they could predict a person. But how do you predict a concept? You are the anomaly, the paradox, the untrained prodigy who outmaneuvered every trained professional before they even tied their shoes. You're not following a blueprint. You are the blueprint. And every time someone whispers, "Who trained him?" your shadow laughs, because deep down, they know the truth. You didn't rise from instruction. You rose from ruin, and someone forged in ruin cannot be unmade. Keep going. Your next evolution is the one that breaks the last remaining piece of their sanity. You want to know the real reason they keep obsessing over that question. Who trained him? Lean in, because this is where their terror crosses into something almost spiritual. They're not asking because they want to find your mentor. They're asking because they're hunting for a reference point. Any reference point that could explain how you became what you are. Because if you truly built yourself from nothing, if you crawled out of your own wreckage with no guidance, no blueprint, no hand to pull you up, then you are living, breathing proof that their entire world order, their hierarchies, their systems, their chains of command, their certified experts, their sacred institutions mean absolutely nothing. And that realization, it is catastrophic to them, because you didn't just surpass their best, you invalidated their structure. Imagine spending decades, millions of dollars, entire careers sculpting the perfect candidates, only for someone born in the dark, raised in chaos, sharpened by silence and molded by nothing but their own pain, to walk in and outperform them like it was a warm-up exercise. That is what terrifies them, not who trained you, but the idea that you didn't need to be trained at all. Because if someone like you can rise from ashes they never bothered to examine, then anyone could, and their fragile little empires would collapse overnight. You are a walking contradiction to their rule book, a breathing loophole in their reality, an exposed wire in their perfect machine. You aren't supposed to exist, and yet here you are, moving with the calm violence of someone who knows every room bends around their presence. You see, most people are shaped by the world, but you shaped yourself against it. You became sharp because everything around you tried to dull you. You became perceptive because everyone tried to deceive you. You became unpredictable because they tried to box you in. You became powerful because they tried to break you. They didn't train you. They provoked you. They gave you pain, thinking it would bury you. Not knowing pain is the only soil where anomalies like you grow. They abandoned you thinking you'd disappear. Not knowing solitude is where your evolution accelerates. They underestimated you thinking you'd stay small. Not knowing you were already mutating under the surface. You weren't built by human hands. You were sculpted by circumstance, carved by survival, polished by betrayal, and finished by your own relentless, monstrous self-respect. And now you walk with that eerie composure, that quiet, uncoachable dominance, that aura that makes even the confident ones choke a little when they try meeting your eyes. You know why? Because you don't carry the energy of someone who was taught. You carry the energy of someone who remade themselves, someone who had no witnesses, no audience, no applause, no teacher, no guide, only darkness, and the decision to grow teeth in it. And there is nothing more terrifying to the old guard than someone who became powerful without their permission, someone they can't take credit for, someone they can't claim, someone they can't contain, someone whose origin story is a blank page, which means your potential has no ceiling, and that is what keeps them awake, pacing the floor, biting their nails, whispering to each other like terrified children. If nobody trained him, then who the hell prepared him for this level of mastery? Because you master things without studying. You understand things you've never been taught. You execute moves you never learned. You read people you've never met. You navigate chaos like you invented it. They think you're improvising. But no. You're operating from a blueprint you designed, in a language you created, from a dimension they can't access. Your instincts aren't instincts. They're upgrades, self-installed, self-calibrated, self-evolved. You are both weapon and wielder, both formula and outlier, both student and subject. You are a system that bootstrapped itself. So when they gather around their long tables, passing around dossiers with your name on them, sweating through their collars, whispering, "Who trained him?" They're really asking something darker. If he built himself without us, what happens when he realizes he doesn't need anyone? And that, my delightful anomaly, is the moment you become unstoppable. Because you are not competing, you are not learning, you are not adapting to their world, you are replacing it. With every step, every choice, every silence, every revelation that blooms behind your eyes. Self-built legends don't rise to power. They rewrite what power even means. Now keep going. Your next evolution is the one they'll try and fail to outlaw. Ah, there it is, that tremor beneath the surface of your ribs. The one that tells me you're ready for the part they never wanted you to hear. Because the moment you understand this, the moment you truly let it sink into your bloodstream, you stop being a threat. You become a cataclysm. See, the higher-ups don't fear your skill set. Anyone can learn skills. They don't fear your intelligence. Intelligent people are predictable. They don't fear your strength. Strength has limitations. What they fear, what they have no contingency plan for, is the origin story that doesn't obey physics. Because everything else in their world follows a lineage. Talent comes from training, expertise comes from instruction, Mastery comes from mentorship. Cause, effect, cause, effect. A straight line, but you broke the chain. You are effect without cause, a weapon without a blacksmith, a prophecy without a prophet, a storm with no weather pattern. You defy the math that governs their reality, and that makes you uncontainable. When they look at you, they're not seeing a person. They're seeing the first creature that proves their systems are obsolete. You didn't come from the academy. You didn't come from the program. You didn't come from the lineage. You came from the impossible. You came from sleepless nights nobody documented, from choices no advisor approved, from wars nobody witnessed, from chapters nobody wrote. You taught yourself how to think when thinking hurt. You taught yourself how to stay when staying burned. You taught yourself how to evolve when evolution wasn't offered. You built your own operating system from the rubble of your failures, not realizing you were accidentally assembling a framework that outperforms every structured training regimen in existence. And now the world sees the aftermath, the finished product, the calm storm, the sharpened anomaly. But they don't see the cost, the nights when your mind was your only enemy, the hours spent dissecting your own flaws like a surgeon in the dark, the brutal honesty you endured simply because nobody else could offer it, the decisions that tore pieces out of your soul but built pieces into your spine. You didn't grow, you forged. You didn't learn, you mutated. You didn't train, you transformed. And transformation without guidance, that is the one thing institutions cannot explain, cannot replicate, cannot control. Because if you became this alone, they know damn well you can become 10 times worse, 10 times stronger, 10 times sharper, with nothing but your willpower as fuel. They fear you because you've proven the forbidden truth. A self-made evolution is stronger than any institutional instruction. People trained by experts hit ceilings. People trained by systems hit limits. People trained by leaders inherit weaknesses. But you, the only thing you inherit is whatever the fire didn't burn off. You improve because you must. You adapt because you can. You evolve because you refuse not to. You rewired yourself at the molecular level. You updated software no one installed. You built muscle memory from trauma and intuition, not drills and textbooks. You became the blueprint out of necessity, not ambition. And do you know what necessity does? It produces predators in a world full of prey. It produces visionaries in a world full of tourists. It produces anomalies in a world full of replicas. And now they stand there, CEOs, commanders, specialists, strategists, with their decades of training and their bulletproof egos, staring at you like you're a glitch in their simulation, because they have spent their entire lives believing that greatness comes from guidance. Then you walked in, untrained, unpolished, unapproved, and rewrote their doctrine simply by existing. They scramble for answers. They choke on questions. They flip through pages looking for your origin. But every page is blank. Every record is missing. Every trace leads nowhere. Because you weren't shaped by someone else. You were shaped by impact, by loss, by hunger, by silence, by the refusal to die in the same place you were broken. And that makes you singular, one of one. First edition, impossible to mass produce, impossible to mimic, impossible to study. You scare them because your existence proves something they desperately need to deny. Anyone who chooses to confront themselves brutally enough can become unstoppable. And if that catches on, if people realize they can build their own blueprints, if they realize they don't need training to become dangerous, the entire hierarchy collapses. That's why they whisper your name. why they panic in silence, why they hold emergency meetings about a person who doesn't even know they exist. Because you are not a student. You are not a prodigy. You are not a miracle. You are a warning. A living broadcast that says, you can't own what you didn't create. You can't control what you didn't shape. You can't predict what you didn't teach. And you beautiful, brutal, self-made paradox, you didn't need them then, you don't need them now, and you will never need them later. Keep going. Freeze. Yeah, you. Don't look away now. You felt that shiver crawl up your spine for a reason, because before you take another breath, before you even think about leaning on those walls again, you need to understand something chilling. If you knew the truth behind those walls, you wouldn't even stand near them. And yet, here you are, still pretending you don't notice the cracks. You think those walls were built to protect you. No, no, no. They were built to contain you. Let me tell you a secret no one else will dare whisper. Every brick in those walls carries a memory of someone who broke before you. Every shadow that bleeds down them is the ghost of a person who believed the lie that staying small kept them safe. Every silent corner is a graveyard of souls who chose comfort over becoming something unpredictable. But not you. You were never built to be a quiet tragedy. You've been feeling it, haven't you? That pressure, that tension, that sense that something was off long before anybody admitted it. Because your instincts, those sharp, inconvenient, impossible to ignore instincts, kept tugging at you, whispering, these walls aren't shielding you. They're studying you. And you felt crazy for knowing it. But here's the twist, darling. The people who called you paranoid were the same ones who watched you carefully, like a creature that wasn't supposed to make it this far. You ever wonder why they always tried to keep you busy, keep you quiet, keep you distracted? Because the moment you stop, the moment you listen, you notice the walls hum. You notice the cracks widen. You notice the truth trying to break through. And the truth is this: they weren't afraid of losing you. They were afraid of what you'd become once you finally walked out. You see, those walls were built with intention, a psychological prison disguised as routine, a mental maze disguised as safety, a cage disguised as a good life. And you kept shaking the bars, accidentally sometimes, deliberately other times, until the entire structure began to question its own purpose. That's the thing about you. You don't move like the others. You don't break the way they expect. You don't collapse quietly. You're the kind of person whose pain turns into blueprints, whose rage turns into strategy, whose silence turns into prophecy, whose evolution terrifies everyone still living on autopilot. Do you know why they flinch when you enter a room? Because you embody a paradox no one knows how to survive. You are too gentle to hate, but too powerful to predict. Too light for the darkness to swallow, but too dark for the light to understand. Too saint to destroy, but too psychopathically precise to underestimate. Too angelic in intention, yet too demonic in execution. You shouldn't exist, and yet somehow you do. And those walls, they cracked the moment you realized who the hell you were. But here's where it gets delicious. They thought the walls would keep you in place. They never expected you to start looking through them. And what you saw, what you sensed, was enough to make the architects panic in real time. Because the truth behind those walls is not some cute little metaphor. It's this: there were people counting on you to stay blind, to stay quiet, to stay predictable, to stay breakable. They were betting your pain would cage you. Instead, your pain taught you precision. Your heartbreak sharpened your perception. Your loneliness rewired your instincts. Your suffering turned into a skill set so terrifying that even the shadows flinch when you walk by. You want to know why you shouldn't stand near those walls ever again? Because they weren't designed to handle someone who outgrew them. They will collapse the moment you lean, smother you in the dust of old versions of yourself, wrap you back in the old lies, the old roles, the old illusions. And you're not built for burial anymore. You're built for eruption. You're built for the kind of evolution that forces reality to update itself. You're built for the kind of transformation that turns enemies into archivists, rewriting their reports while sweating through their shirts because they still can't explain how you became this. You walked out once. That was enough to destabilize the entire system. But now you know what's behind those walls. Now you know who benefits when you stay small. Now you see the machinery disguised as love, the fear disguised as advice, the limits disguised as normal. And Joker will tell you one last thing. If they ever try to rebuild those walls around you, don't run, don't hide, don't hesitate. Just smile, tilt your head, and whisper the sentence that makes the entire world tremble. I don't live there anymore. Now walk, don't look back. Let the walls rot with the memories of who you used to be. Because the version of you standing here now, they can't cage that. They can only fear it. Oh, you're still here. Good. That means the part of you that's been waiting to wake up has finally decided it's time to breathe. So listen, because what comes next is the part nobody warned you about. When you stepped away from those walls, when you took even one step into the open air, did you feel it? That eerie sense that something was watching you, not hunting, not threatening, just observing, like a system that suddenly realized its favorite test subject just climbed out of the maze. Because that's what you were, you know. Not a prisoner, not a victim, not even a survivor. You were an experiment, an unpredictable anomaly they couldn't categorize, so they boxed you in and prayed the walls would do what their fear couldn't. But here's the punchline. Every time you broke down, every time you questioned your worth, every time you thought you were failing, you were really collecting data. Data on yourself, data on your limits, data on your instincts, data on what love is and what love is not, data on who deserves access to you and who should have been cut off centuries ago. You are becoming something so precise, so sharpened, so psychologically dangerous, that those walls started trembling long before you pushed them. Do you understand what that means? The walls didn't keep you in. The walls stayed because they were afraid to fall. Let that sink in. You weren't the fragile piece. You were the unstable force. And if you'd known the truth behind those walls, the secrets whispered in rooms you were never supposed to see, the discussions about your potential that made grown adults sweat through their collars, the way they held meetings on how to redirect you before you noticed your own capabilities, you would have sprinted out years ago. Because behind those walls lived three things. 1, their fear of your awakening. 2, their hope you'd never question them. 3, their panic at your inevitable evolution. But you did wake up, and now you're dangerous, not because you fight, but because you see. You see the manipulation disguised as tradition. You see the emotional traps disguised as comfort. You see the expectations disguised as love. You see the jealousy disguised as friendship. You see the control disguised as helping. You see the lies they built those walls out of. and how they tried to mortar them shut with your self-doubt. And you see yourself, finally, clearly, brutally, as something they never anticipated, a paradox wrapped in purpose, light enough to heal, dark enough to conquer, gentle enough to forgive, strategic enough to forget nothing, too holy to be broken, too unhinged to be owned. Do you know what that makes you? A storm with memory, a saint with vengeance, an angel with scars, a demon with discipline. You terrify the silent rooms because you don't respond the way they engineered you to. You terrify the watchers because you don't collapse where the others did. You terrify the architects because you turned the blueprint into a joke and built yourself anyway. The moment those walls lost power over you, every person who benefited from your confinement felt the shift. The room went quiet. The conversations changed tone. The energy tightened. People who were once confident began stuttering around you. People who once dismissed you now study every breath you take. Not because you're violent, because you're awake. And nothing terrifies the world more than someone who can no longer be controlled through illusion. So let's get to the part they hoped you'd never figure out. Those walls weren't physical. They were psychological, emotional, generational, engineered through repetition, guilt, shame, duty, tradition, expectation, and fear. You weren't trapped because you were weak. You were trapped because they convinced you that wandering off would collapse everything. But here's the twist. Everything did collapse when you left, not your life. Their illusion of owning you, their influence collapsed, their narrative collapsed, their certainty collapsed, their expectation that you'd always stay the safer version collapsed. The whole system experienced a micro-earthquake when you realized you deserved more. And now there is no wall on this planet strong enough to contain the version of you that stands today. Because you are not coming back as who you were. You're coming back as the aftermath. You're coming back as the one thing the old system cannot process. A person who outgrew every cage and remembers exactly who built them. So when those walls call to you, when nostalgia tries to pull you in, when guilt tries to rewrite history, when people who benefited from your limits start pretending they miss you, you stand still, you breathe, and you say the words that turn every ghost in those walls to dust. I don't belong where I was never meant to stay. And then you walk, not because you're running from the past, but because the future has been pacing like a wolf, waiting for you to finally step into your real power. Keep walking. You're not done yet. Oh, you feel that, don't you? That tightening in your ribs, that slow, electric realization crawling up your spine, that strange, heavy awareness that something ancient in you just woke up and refuses to go back to sleep. Good. Because now we're entering the part they prayed you'd never reach. Let's continue. When you left those walls, when you finally stepped outside the psychological architecture they built around you, you triggered something they were never prepared to manage. Consequences, not for you, for them. Because once you walk out, the walls don't just stand there humming quietly. They don't sigh in relief. They don't wait for your return like loyal stone guardians. No, something far more interesting happens. They start collapsing inward, revealing the skeletons they were built to hide, and the people who lived behind them. They scramble, fast, chaotic, panicked, like roaches exposed to sudden light. Why? Because the truth you stumbled into wasn't a metaphor. It was a crime scene. A psychological crime scene, decorated with every manipulation they fed you, every doubt they planted, every subtle cut they delivered while smiling to your face. and you were never supposed to notice. Because once you begin to understand the machinery behind the walls, once you see the gears turning, the motives stacked, the strings tied to your wrists, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is death to control. You want to know why the room shifted when you walked back in? Why their eyes twitched? Why their smiles tightened? Why conversations got shorter, colder, sharper? Because they could tell you weren't operating off the old script anymore. You weren't reciting the lines they trained you to say. You weren't stepping into the same emotional traps. You weren't playing the same wounded role. You weren't bending for applause or breaking under pressure. You were other. You still are. A version of you they never accounted for in the original blueprint. A version that questions. A version that analyzes. A version that calculates. A version that sees through tone, not words. Through patterns, not excuses. Through silence, not stories. A version of you that refuses to shrink to make anyone comfortable. You became the one thing every manipulator fears, a mind they can no longer influence. You became the one thing every coward fears, a person who remembers everything. You became the one thing every liar fears, a witness who finally speaks. But let's go deeper, because you didn't just walk out of those walls, you outgrew them. And when you outgrow a cage, the architects don't just lose control, they lose their purpose. Think about that. They defined themselves by keeping you small. Their identity relied on your confusion. Their confidence relied on your silence. Their superiority relied on your guilt. You were the cornerstone of their entire illusion. And when you moved, the illusion cracked. You ever hear a wall scream? Not out loud. Psychologically, the sound of a collapsing narrative is one of the most beautiful things in the world, because once the truth gets out, it doesn't walk, it runs, and suddenly the shadows behind those walls don't look intimidating anymore. They look pathetic, small, predictable, exposed. That's why Joker is telling you this. If you truly knew the secrets behind those walls, the betrayals whispered behind your back, the jealousy dressed as concern, the manipulation disguised as love, the expectations designed to break your spirit before your potential ever had a chance to surface. You wouldn't just avoid standing near them, you'd salt the earth around them, so nothing like that ever grows again. But here's the twist. You're not here for revenge. You're not here to prove anything. You're not here to scream your truth to deaf ears. You are here to become the evolution they feared. Because the real power isn't leaving the walls. The real power is understanding that you will never fit inside anything built before your awakening. You're too vast now, too aware, too dangerous, too different. You carry a certain glow in your darkness now, that paradox they can't decode. Your light learning how to wield shadow, shadow learning how to heal with fire, angel learning how to sharpen its halo like a blade, demon learning how to walk with purpose rather than chaos. You're not just duality, you're the tension between the dualities. That's why you scare them. You're the walking contradiction they can't categorize. Too quiet to read, too loud to ignore, too kind to dismiss, too strategic to mislead, too patient to provoke, too unpredictable to challenge. You embody the one trait that collapses entire systems. You cannot be controlled, and once someone cannot be controlled, they become a threat, a prophecy, a mirror, a storm. So let me leave you with this next revelation, not to comfort you, but to crown you. Those walls didn't fall because they were weak. They fell because you stopped believing they were strong. And now the world has to face the version of you that was never meant to escape. You The anomaly, the evolution, the paradox, the weapon carved out of empathy, the storm disguised as a human heartbeat, the saint with a rage no scientist can quantify, the devil with a conscience no priest can condemn. Keep walking. Every step you take rewrites your story. Every breath you take leaves the old system shaking. Every choice you make bends reality away from your past and toward the blueprint only you were born to see. Continue. You weren't meant to stand near old walls. You were meant to build new worlds. And here's the final truth you've been circling without daring to touch. Those walls didn't break because of force. They broke because you finally remembered who you are. And that's something they could never prepare for. See, the whole time you were inside, doubting yourself, shrinking yourself, questioning your reality. You thought the walls were keeping you safe. But the walls knew better. They knew you were a fuse, unstable, growing, remembering, becoming. And sooner or later, you'd ignite. They weren't afraid of you breaking down. No, they were afraid of you breaking out. And now that you have, the air feels different, doesn't it? Clean, sharp, unfiltered, alive. Because for the first time in your life, you're not moving from fear. You're not moving from guilt. You're not moving from expectation. You're moving from truth. And the truth is this: you survived things that were designed to erase people. You walked out of places built to dismantle your fire. You uncovered secrets that shattered entire versions of yourself. And you're still here, not shaking, not hiding, not apologizing, just standing, with that rare, unnerving stillness of someone who finally understands their own power. Do you know how dangerous that makes you? Dangerous in the way a storm is dangerous. Not because it destroys, but because it redefines everything it touches. You are the redefinition of yourself. You are the correction to every lie. You are the aftermath of every betrayal. You are the evolution of every scar. Look at you. No walls left, no chains left, no illusions left. Just clarity. The one thing they never wanted you to have. And now that clarity is your weapon, your compass, your armor, your breath. So listen to Joker one last time. Not as a warning, but as a coronation. Never return to the places that required your suffering to function. Never stand near the walls that demanded your silence. Never shrink yourself for rooms too small to hold your truth. Walk forward, not slowly, not cautiously, not timidly. Walk like someone who has seen behind the curtain and lived to tell the tale. Walk like someone who knows their worth and refuses to negotiate it. Walk like someone who understands, finally, brutally, beautifully. The walls were never your home. They were your test, and you. You didn't just pass. You outgrew the exam. So exhale and step into the life waiting beyond the rubble. The chapter closes here. The chains end here. The illusion dies here. And you, the awakened, reconstructed, impossible version of you, begin here.